Imagine each night not as a pause but as a ceremony. That insomnia is not an enemy, but a whisper, an invitation from the soul to return to the body's temple and touch the threshold of rest with devotion. There is a hidden point, forgotten by modernity and remembered by the sages, reached not by technique but by reverence. It's called the vagus nerve, and though science studies it in wires and synapses, the ancients knew it as the river connecting the visible with the invisible. This journey is not medical. It is initiatory. When the body awakens its sacred memory, the soul begins to rest, and by touching that point, you will not sleep out of routine, but as one entering silence to meet the eternal. Before you begin this video, remember to subscribe and give it a like. Imagine that insomnia is not merely a nightly discomfort, but a closed door waiting to be touched with awareness. Behind the stifled yawn and restless body lies a silent call, a soul's whisper, "Stop. Listen to me." When night falls and external sounds dissolve, what remains is that internal echo you've ignored all day. That moment is no accident. It is a threshold. The sages of old did not view insomnia as pathology, but as message. They understood that the body does not simply sleep but transits, and each night holds the possibility of rebirth. Before surrendering to sleep, they performed a simple yet sacred gesture, touching a point that soothed the nervous system and aligned spirit with the invisible. They did so with devotion, knowing this hidden point was a string on the inner lyre, a note awakening forgotten memories. This point links to the vagus nerve, but it's not a clinical term or physiological explanation. For those who regarded the body as temple, the vagus nerve was a mystical river, a golden channel winding from crown to belly. Touching it was like lighting a lamp in the corridor of the soul. Stimulating it before sleep was ritual. I am ready to enter the mystery. Called wandering in Latin, this nerve regulates automatic functions, breath, heart rate, but also bridges calm and intuition. When we consciously activate it, we don't merely relax the body, we permit consciousness to rise. The ancients knew this intuitively. They recognized spiritual vibration in every organ, tissue, and pulse, and saw the vagus nerve as its deepest string. Behind the ear, at the neck base in the chest center, there lies a sacred geography. These are not random points but gates. Touching them with intent is like saying a magic word. The sages did so each night not for better sleep, but for clearer dreams. Sleep is not rest, it is journey. And before crossing that threshold, the body must vibrate in harmony. Today, science confirms what they knew. This nerve activates the parasympathetic system to induce calm, reduce inflammation, improve digestion, and spark emotional healing. But for the ancients, those were secondary. What mattered was connection. By touching that point, the body not only quiets, the soul readies to fly. When darkness cloaks the room and silence fills the air, that gesture becomes ritual. 2 fingers, a gentle touch, a deep breath. And the body remembers it is temple, that night is ceremony, and that rest is preparation to reunite with the divine. Picture the scene. Night drapes itself as a sacred cloak, the body reclines, and you, wordless, place your fingers behind your ear, at your neck base, or on your chest. You do not act by habit but because something within remembers. That gesture, seemingly small, is a key, an energetic password opening the threshold between the physical and the soul's subtle plane. The touch is not only physical, it is vibrational. It is alchemical. Behind that contact lies intention. The body answers consciousness more than force. 2 fingers, a deep breath, a quiet mind, and the vagus nerve activates, not as a cable but as a string emitting a silent note, a frequency resonating from heart to crown. You are tuning your inner instrument, preparing to journey. Yes, journey, because sleep is not mere rest but passage. It is entering the invisible temple where the soul remembers, releases, and discovers. In esoteric traditions, sleep was an initiation. The body remains but consciousness ascends, and like all ceremonial journeys, it requires preparation. The ritual touch was more than technique, it was declaration, a way of telling the soul, the body is at peace, now you may fly. When they touched the point behind the ear with petal-shaped fingers, it was like caressing a child's ear before dreaming. In the supraclavicular hollow, they set breath as a navigator sets sail. On the chest center, they ignited tenderness and compassion, lighting the heart's flame. This gesture was knightly, born of wisdom, not superstition. Repetition trained the body to shift from chaos to stillness. The body learns, energy aligns, the soul recognizes the signal. Time to release, trust, transcend. While many today battle insomnia with screens aglow, the sages dove into silence, touched that point and surrendered consciousness to the eternal. Sleep begins not in the eyes but in the soul, and when you enter consciously, you sleep not to escape but to reunite. Imagine that rest begins not when you close your eyes, but when you honor the space around them. Your bedroom is not merely a room but a sanctuary. The sages knew each night was ceremony, thus they consecrated their surroundings, lighting candles, placing sacred stones, perfuming the air with protective herbs. Not for decor but so the soul would recognize this space as communion. Creating a sleep altar requires no grand objects, only grand intention, a quiet corner where silence speaks. There each night, the body knows it will not flee the day but prepare for its journey. Sleeping is embarking upon crossing the veil where consciousness communes with the invisible. That humble altar becomes the gateway. But the ceremony extends further. The ritual touch endures. Touching that point behind the ear, on the chest or neck is not mere method. It is prayer in motion. As you do it, breathe deeply, surrender to the moment and let the body remember it is temple. Don't expect instant results. Just do it as the ancients did, trusting that conscious repetition is the language of spirit. Before extinguishing the light, one final act transforms everything. Gratitude. Giving thanks is not courtesy, it is alchemy. When you thank, the heart opens, the mind clears, the soul readies to receive. Give thanks even if your day was stormy. Seek a spark, a gesture, a word to say thank you for. That simple act reprograms your energy and transforms rest into offering. And upon awakening, remember, the night's journey ends not with sleep, but with its memory. Place a notebook by your altar and record what the soul returned with. Symbols, images, emotions. Though they seem fragmentary, they hold keys. The subconscious's language, the deep's voice crying to be heard. Sleeping then becomes not closing your eyes but opening a portal. Each night is initiation, reconnection, an opportunity to remember who you are beyond daily life. When you touch the body as one activates a sacred code, breathe as one honors the soul, and thank as one speaks with the universe, you do not sleep. You ascend. You transform. You remember. Now you know that rest is not closing your eyes but opening the soul, that sleep is not absence but encounter, that the vagus nerve is not just anatomy but alchemy. Each night, when the world shuts down and your body seeks refuge in darkness, remember your fingers hold sacred memory. By touching that point, you do not seek peace, you invoke connection. Insomnia will no longer be your enemy but your teacher. The sages did not touch that point to sleep, they did it to awaken. And you, now remembering, can sleep not by habit but as right. Sleep begins in consciousness, and whoever sleeps in consciousness awakens in power. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you in the next video.